Hello, explorers, and welcome to Reach the World's Explorer program. For more than 25 years, Reach the World has sparked student curiosity, bringing real-world adventure, fresh perspectives, and career pathways into K-12 classrooms, all through the magic of virtual exchange. My name is Tim, and today we're headed back to the incredible Okavango Delta in Botswana to rejoin Reach the World Explorer and Indagare safari expert Izzy. Izzy is coming to us live from a new location in the Delta. And wow, if you were with us on Monday and are thinking, how much could have possibly happened to Izzy in the past 48 hours, you are sure about to find out, and I think you're very much going to be surprised. Special good morning to the classrooms that are joining us live for today's event from around the country. Get your questions ready for Izzy. We're going to get an update from Izzy first, and then it's over to you, the students, to ask her all your burning questions. And without further ado, I would like to travel virtually to Botswana and get Izzy back up on the screen to tell us what she's been up to. Let me find her in this list of people who are waiting to come on screen. Where are you, Izzy? There you are. Hey, Izzy.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I am great. How are you?
I am so good. I'm at a new lodge in the Okavango Delta today. I'm so excited to see everybody. This is my background today, and we're in a different part of the Okavango Delta from last time. And this part of the Delta is much more wet and flooded. And so I'm excited to tell you guys about some of the boat safaris that I've been up to. And in my background, if you can see, there's like a lot of termite mounts, which are like the little kind of hill things coming out of the ground. And then there's also several warthogs. A family of warthogs just walked by.
That's amazing. I was removing myself from the screen so you could be a little larger and we could see more of your background. We'll come back to that view in just a second. I want to start like we did on Monday by just a brief geography lesson so we can all understand where exactly you are. Talk to us about how you got to Botswana from New York, please.
Yes. So that blue star up there on the left is New York City. And I took a very long international flight all the way across the Atlantic Ocean down into South Africa. And then South Africa is just below that black circle where you have Botswana. So I flew into South Africa, and from South Africa, I flew straight into Botswana, which is that blue circle down there in the bottom of the African continent. And then in the top left of Botswana is where the Okavango Delta is located.
All right, excellent. It must be a big place because you were telling us on Monday from the camp that you connected with us from that you were going to take a small airplane flight to a different location. I think we actually have some footage of your view from your airplane window. How exciting is this?
I tried to get a lot of footage of the landscape so everybody can see the flooded delta.
Yeah, I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit. Here we go.
All of the darker areas are the wetlands. This flood that's coming in and going all throughout the land, and you can kind of see it creates all of these little channels and riverways throughout the land. And from the plane, we saw like lots of hippos, tons of elephants. The elephants love being in the water. The hippos, of course, also love being in the water. So that gives you a good idea of what the topography looks like and what we've been flying over to get to where we are now.
And you were saying the Okavango Delta doesn't always look like this. It's sort of in a special state right now. Just real briefly, what does it look like when it's not flooded? Do we have like a sense? Is it really kind of dry and not as much life?
Exactly. So between May right now and October is when the Delta is flooded, and it looks like what everybody just saw, which is the water and the floodplains coming all the way through the land and creating all of these different waterways and channels. And then during the rest of the year in this part of Botswana, it's much drier, and so there is still rain that comes from the sky, of course, but you're not getting the same type of floodplains that you are between May and October. It does look pretty different.
All right, so we have a whole bunch of really cool wildlife experiences that you have had in the last 48 hours. Where do you want to start? Do you have a favorite? We have hippos. We
I
have
think we
your
should
boat
start with
ride.
elephants.
Okay,
Or
okay,
maybe
very good.
the boat to give an idea of
Yeah, all
how we
right.
see it.
Let's do that. Let's bring up sort of a sense of what it's like to travel by Makoro. Maybe you can just tell us what it feels like while you're
Yeah,
on the
so
boat.
this is a motorboat. This isn't yet the Makoro, but this is the motorboat, and we're traveling through the channel amongst all of the reeds, which are like really tall kind of grasslands, and everything is, as you can see, flooded. And this is the channel that we're boating through, and there's tons of bird species. We come across a lot of hippos and elephants and impalas. There's all kinds of animals, and a lot of the animals are actually going to be standing in the water. So half of their body, if not all of their body, is covered by the water.
So
Yeah.
you're going along in this boat through this waterway, and it's like very likely that you would come upon just an elephant hanging out. Is that right?
It is. We've seen a lot of elephants, and the elephants especially love being in the Okavango Delta when it's flooded because it's a cooler temperature. There's tons of water, and they're also eating all of the grass and the reeds that you see on the right and the left of the boat. So there is constant access to water, vegetation, and even shade because there's a lot of trees around. And so it's a really happy habitat for the elephants, and it's cool because when we're passing by, we see usually a bunch of the elephants kind of all together because elephants live in these tight family groups led by the matriarch. This was one that was pretty close at
That
sunset.
looks very close. Yes. Yeah. How does it feel to be that close to?
I was really nervous, but as you can kind of tell, we glide through the water at a fast pace, but when we come to any of the animals, we slow down, we turn off the engine and go really, really slowly to not disturb or scare the animal. So this was one of the elephants, and as you can tell, he's kind of most of his body, a lot of his body is in the water, and they're really happy and really comfortable, and they're eating all of these grassy areas that are around the water. So they're very well fed and very comfortable, and the water really helps to cool them off when it's this warm out.
Now I can see it's either sunset or sunrise. You were telling us on Monday that that's the best time to go out and see wildlife. Do you remember which one that was, sunrise or sunset?
Yeah, so this is during the sunset. This is at around 6:15 yesterday. And yeah, here's another elephant. This was from earlier today. As you can tell, he's with some friends. They're so majestic looking, and they're huge.
Do they indicate that they sense your presence as you go past?
Yeah. So what we learned from the guide is sometimes when you do go past and they notice you, they'll flap their ears out to look really big, to kind of use that as a tactic to show, I'm here, I'm really big, I'm really powerful, don't approach me. And so they just make themselves bigger by flapping their ears out when they notice you, and then they just go back to eating. And when they're eating and kind of going about their way, you know that they're happy and very comfortable with the distance and your presence.
All right, that is amazing. I could watch this video 1,000 times, but I want to quick pop in on the other animal that you referenced seeing quite a bit of in the water.
These are the hippos. I love the hippos. And there's probably about 40 of them here. And as you can see, there's boys, girls, and there's also some babies. And all of the hippos are their entire body is under the water, but usually they're standing on the ground. So they're fully submerged, but the little babies who can't stand are hopping on their mom's back to stay above the ground. Very cute.
So cute. Amazing. Okay, so we have got a whole bunch of students who are waiting patiently to ask you their questions, and I want to do a first round of questions, and then we'll come back. We've got birds. You went fishing, and we can talk about anything else that students want to talk about. But I want to get their questions on camera. So I think that I will start today. We have some friends who are joining us from Nebraska today, and I am going to bring them on camera so they can say hello. Hello, friends.
Hi. Hi.
Do we have a brave person who might want to ask the first question to Izzy today? And if whoever it is, would you step up a little bit closer to the camera so we can see you, and then you can ask your question and we can hear you as well.
Royce, stand up. What kind of animals are we going to see?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So far in the past 24 hours, I have seen lots of hippos. I've seen lots of elephants. I've seen some giraffe and lots of impalas. I've also seen a lot of fish now that we're in the in an area with a lot more water. And we'll show you guys a fun video of the fish, but there's lots of catfish in the water, and it's all fresh water. Outside right now, I see a family of warthogs. There's lots of warthogs, and I even got to see the baby warthogs, which are piglets, and they're so cute and like teeny tiny. So lots of animals around here.
Very good question. Can we take a second question from Nebraska before we bring up another classroom? We'll come back to you all. Everyone will get another chance, but we'll start with 2 questions apiece.
Tierney, come up here, hon. Are there any anacondas there?
That's such a good question. I'm not totally sure. I don't think so. But I'll check it out and let you know. What I have seen so far is yesterday when we were driving, this was during one of the game drives in our vehicle, and our guide noticed in the dirt there was like a long trail indicating like a snake's body moving. And so we stopped the car to get out. Or I'm sorry, not to get out. We stopped the car to look around, and we were like looking down into the bush. And because we saw the snake's trail, like of its body slithering, we were suspecting there might be a snake. And there was a huge python that was about 5 feet away from us. And the pythons are really interesting. They are known to use their bodies and wrap around their food in order to eat their food, which is really cool. So we got to see a python yesterday.
All right, so definitely snakes. Nebraska friends, I'm going to move you backstage. We'll come back to you. Thanks for those great questions to kick us off. We have our friends at Midland School. I'm going to bring them back. Hello, welcome back, Midland School. Great to see you all. Do we have a question for Izzy?
What's the hardest part of living in the safari? Or what was the hardest part?
Of living where, sorry?
There. What was the hardest part of living in the safari?
Oh, that's a good question. The hardest part of living in safari. I'm thinking. I really love spending time out here. It's so nice to have all of the fresh air and be able to see the sunrise and the sunset because we're in a tent. And there's a large open area that faces all of this. We saw the sunrise right here this morning, which was amazing. The worst part, maybe I would probably say there's a lot of bugs like mosquitoes, just because it is the wetlands and because there's so much water. That's the perfect habitat for mosquitoes. So there's a lot of mosquitoes, but they're part of the ecosystem, and they don't totally bother me that much anymore. I've kind of just gotten used to them now. But it's really beautiful. It's very relaxing, and I love that it feels different from home. So great question.
Wonderful question. Yes. Can we take a second question from Midland? And Miss Montgomery's class, if you'd like to ask a question on camera, will you turn your camera on backstage? Thank you very much.
If you could take us on a virtual expedition anywhere else in the world, next, where would you go and why?
It's such a fun question. I love that. If I could go anywhere on a virtual expedition next, I would love to take all of you guys to Rwanda with me. Rwanda is another country in Africa, and right now I'm in Botswana, which is in south, very, very bottom of Africa. But Rwanda is a country all the way to the east of Africa, on the right-hand side. And Rwanda is known for a totally different type of safari experience. In Rwanda is where you have the silverback mountain gorillas. And so a lot of travelers go over to Rwanda to experience what it's like to see these majestic and huge silverback mountain gorillas. So it would be very, very different from Botswana, where I am right now, where you have all these kind of grassy wetlands in my background. I think Rwanda would be much more of a forest and jungle type of experience where we would find all of these silverback mountain gorillas. So I would love to do that next.
What a great question. Maybe we will go there next. That's giving me ideas. I think that sounds great. We'll come back to you, Midland. Thank you so much. Miss Ponsard's class, I see you. We'll bring you on camera and see if you have some questions for Izzy today. Good morning. How is everybody doing there?
All right.
Good.
Good.
Hi.
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 Have you seen any poisonous spiders?
Great question. I was actually talking to my guide about this earlier. So far, and I'm knocking on wood as I'm saying this, I have not seen any poisonous spiders, luckily. But we've seen a lot of spiders since we've been here, and I learned that most of the spiders that we see very commonly are not poisonous and they're not going to hurt you. Some of the more poisonous spiders are, like the brown recluse, for example, are dangerous and not very common to see. Our guide told us he rarely sees them, and he lives here year round. So luckily, no poisonous spiders yet.
Good. That's up your streak. Well, I don't know. Maybe you do want to see one, and maybe you want to see it from a safe distance. How about that?
I'd love to see one from a really safe distance.
All right. You got your next question ready.
Do you prefer airplane rides, boat rides, or the truck rides in the safari?
Oh, that's such a good question. Honestly, I love being on the boat. It's such a unique way to see all of the animals, and I think being on the boat gives you a very different perspective. It's also really unique to see all of the animals when their bodies are submerged in the water as well. So like that video that we saw of the elephant, where basically half of the elephant's body is submerged into the water in the middle of nowhere. You would never, ever be able to see that particular sighting from a car, just because a car wouldn't be able to get over here. And from an airplane, you wouldn't be able to be that up close to it. So I think doing it from a boat is really unique and really special to specifically the Okavango Delta. But I do love seeing everything from the airplane, because then it kind of puts into perspective what you are really looking at, which is all of the floodplain. So that was a great question. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. Well, since we have one, sorry, just to interrupt you, we have one more person ready to go from Ms. Ponsard's class. We'll take your question, and then we'll bring on one more class, and then we'll do another round. Okay, bud?
All right.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
What's your favorite type of bird?
Great question. My favorite bird is a lilac-breasted roller, and she is about this big, and she is blue right here and lilac and purple and all different shades of blue and purple and yellow around her body. And she is just so beautiful looking. And I've gotten a couple of photos, I can send them by, where the lilac breasted roller is sitting in a tree, and they really stick out from the tree because their colors are so bright and so vibrant. And so, you know, they're sitting up on the tree branch, and you've got all of these purples and blues and oranges and yellows. And that the lilac breasted roller is my favorite bird for all of the beautiful colors. But there are so many birds here, so many, like thousands of birds.
That sounds amazing. Please do send photos, and I'll share them with our registered classrooms, and you can see this beautiful bird that Izzy's talking about. All right, Miss Montgomery's class, I see you waiting patiently. Thank you so much. It's great to see you. Hello, welcome from Alabama. Let's get you unmuted, and whoever's got our first question, please go ahead.
My name is Hayden Wright. I'm from Booker T. Washington Middle School, State. Do y'all have pandas there?
Great question. And we don't have, there's no pandas in Botswana. It would be really cool to see a panda out here, but unfortunately not in this, not in Botswana. But that's a great question.
Excellent.
What's the weather over there?
The weather?
Yes.
It is, so far, it's been really dry. We haven't had any rainfall just yet. And right now it's about 75 degrees and sunny. So it's really beautiful, perfect weather, very temperate. I will say the mornings and the evenings get much cooler, around like 55 degrees. So, you know, we definitely try to bundle up in the mornings and the evenings, but throughout the rest of the day, it's really sunny and lovely weather for being outside. Great question.
Students in Miss Montgomery's class, you've been so patient. Let's take a third question, and then there's a couple more things that Izzy wants to show us, and then we'll do one more round of questions through all of our classrooms. So if you have a question we didn't get to this time around, we'll get back to you, okay?
Are there a lot of mosquitoes over there?
Mosquitoes?
Yes.
There's a lot of mosquitoes, and the mosquitoes are really happy here because it's so wet on the ground, which is a perfect habitat for all of the mosquitoes to thrive in. So there's definitely a lot of mosquitoes around here, especially this time of the year. I try to not let them bother me.
Thank you for those great questions, Miss Montgomery's class. I'm going to move you backstage. We'll come back to you. Keep thinking about more. Izzy, I'm struck by this like sense that everything is like eating right now. This is a time of plenty in the Delta, and everything's either being eaten or eating something. There's a lot of feeding going on. You shared a really cool video of birds, and all this mosquito talk makes me think, like, if there's lots of mosquitoes, the birds must be doing pretty well too.
Yep.
So are these, what do you know what type of birds these are?
Let me see.
I'm
forgetting the name of the types of birds, but I know that these birds are for the most part eating insects and little insects that are just sitting on top of the water. So they're really happy here. And the birds are also eating, we saw a bird today that was actually like diving into the water and eating a fish, like a big a sizable fish. So the birds are eating insects, the birds are eating other fish, small little geckos and lizards and small reptiles are being eaten by the birds. So it's really very happy place for all of the birds to do all of their feeding, for sure.
I would say so. And you referenced earlier that you got to sort of put a fishing pole in the water and test your luck for what was going on beneath the surface. Can I reveal your catch?
Yes, I was lucky to catch 3 fish today.
Oh, how can you do that? That's a catfish.
This was a really big catfish.
That's a catfish. Look at that weight. Oh my God.
This was very exciting. This was my first catch of the day.
Wow.
And
How can you do
this is a
that?
catfish. And we
That's
went
a
fishing
catfish.
directly from the boat and casted the line straight out into the
That's a
kind of
catfish.
area where the
Look
water
at
is
that
very
weight.
open to try to avoid all of the
Oh my
grass.
God.
I did get my bait stuck in the grass several times, but I caught this catfish today. And in the water, there's
How can
lots
you
of
do that?
catfish. There's breams, there's tilapia as well. But for the most part, we're catching catfish.
All right. So I want to do 2 more things before we go back around to another round of questions. The first one is, a very astute student on Monday was asking about the sounds that you hear. And I wonder if the sounds that you're hearing in this camp are any different than the sounds you heard in the camp on Monday. It seems like everything's loud and everything's making noise. Like, what's the predominant sound that you hear at your second camp?
That's a really great question. What I'll say is because this camp has a lot more water in the area much more so than the camp that I was at previously. What wakes us up at night from the tent and what you hear all day and all night is tons of splashing water. So all of the animals are, moving around, jumping in, jumping out, hunting, eating, everything. And so there's lots of splashing water. And what's fun about being in a tent, especially at night, is when you hear a big splash of water, I don't know if it's a bird jumping in and catching a fish, or if it's a crocodile, or if it's a hippo. It's kind of hard to tell by the splash, but there's lots of splashing happening just outside of our tent right here. And we also, yesterday, the lions actually walked into the camp, like actually into where we're sleeping. And our guide yesterday told us that about 9 months ago, the lions actually had their babies about 50 feet away from our tent. So for a long time, the cubs actually lived right here, which is very cool. So the lions revisited camp yesterday and we got to hear them roar.
I can hardly believe any aspect of that last story you just told. So
I could neither.
I mean, it's to envision, lions just walking right in between your tents. That must have been amazing. Were you scared? Were you delighted? Were you a mix?
It was honestly very exciting and also scary, just because they're so close to us. And this is because they chose, right by our tent to give birth and raise all of their little cubs and babies, just goes to show, how comfortable and how safe they feel in this environment. And so, I think they're very used to the tent structure and having travelers around going on safari. But for me and maybe other travelers too, I was very startled and excited to see that the lions were right here where we're sleeping.
All right, last thing before we go for questions. This is fair warning to all our students. Be ready with your final round of questions for Izzy. I can't wait to come back to you. We'll go classroom by classroom again. On Monday, you showed us a little bit more of your surroundings. You pivoted your camera a little bit and showed us a little bit without moving too much. I don't want you to lose your signal. Can I make you full screen and you can just sort of show us around a little bit?
Of course. So let's see. I'm in our tent right now. And over here you can see all of the grasslands, and there's the side of our tent. These guys right here, and this one right here, those are big termite mounds. So all of the termites live in there, and they create these little hill-like structures. And then this is the other side of our tent. But here we are, and you can see all of the grasslands, and there's tons of like a big pool of water over there. There's lots of birds flying around. I see lots of impalas right out here. This is also, we just had lots of the a lot of the warthogs just walked by right here. So there's a lot of action. There's a lot happening.
It was nice to see you move around, because when you're holding still, it looks like your background is like a dream, is like a screenshot, right?
Yeah.
And we get the real sense that it's a real place. What a beautiful, beautiful landscape. Do you ever sit with just binoculars and like see what's happening in your backyard?
Of course. This is like my favorite spot right here for morning coffee, and just watching everything kind of live in its way. It's really beautiful. And I'm like trying to take pictures with my eyeballs so that I can come back to New York next week and imagine myself here again. So.
All right. Well, that's incredible. I'm sure it's raised some more questions. I'm going to go back through our list of classrooms in the order we went through. Let's do like 3 burning questions from each classroom. And if we get a chance when we are finished to have a little bit more time, I'll come back for any that we missed. But let's go back to our friends in Nebraska. Hello again. I see lots of hands raised. I'm sorry that we may not be able to answer every question today, but if the first question asker is ready, please go ahead.
Bo, come up here.
What was your favorite animal on the safari?
My favorite animal on the safari? I still just love the leopards. I know I showed you guys a lot of the pictures that we took of the leopards on Monday, and I still think that they are the most beautiful, majestic, hidden, really, really cool animals. And like I said, having the leopard up in the tree, and when you're trying to find a leopard, you have to look up into the treetops. I think that is just so cool, and they're so hidden. You really have to do lots of smart and thoughtful work to be able to find the leopards. Yeah, it's right up there in the middle. But when you're just walking by, like, you can barely see them because they're perfectly blended in with the tree. It's almost like their spots look like leaves at the top of the tree, and they cover themselves up in the treetops. This guy is coming down. This is the mama. So I'm a leopard lover, and elephants, but mostly leopards. Great question. Thank you for asking.
Lennon.
Have you seen any cultures like?
Just different cultures?
Yeah, just like
Traditions?
different cultures or traditions.
Yeah, great question. So a couple of days ago, we went for a bushwalk with a bush tribe in the Kalahari Desert in the salt pans. And we got to learn about how they live, how they eat, how they hunt. And they're a nomadic tribe, which means they're constantly moving. And anywhere, they're walking all day throughout the bush and throughout the wilderness, and they're looking for food, and they showed us how they play their games. They have a really kind of interesting form of rock paper scissors that they play. which they showed us how to do, which was very fun. We got to play games with them, and they showed us how they extract honey from the trees. And so they have like a saw, and they cut the honeycomb off of the tree and eat the honey directly from there. So that was a huge highlight, was meeting the Bushman tribe that lives on this land and has lived here for many, many years. Great question.
Harper.
If you've been to a lot of places, what's your favorite place?
That is such a good question as well. Honestly, I'm really, really happy in Botswana. It is. I've been able to go on lots of different safaris in different countries all over Eastern and Southern Africa. And what I love about Botswana is, there's so much wildlife. You really have a plethora of animals everywhere, and there is an abundance of wildlife, and the landscapes just look so unique and different from any other safari region that I've ever seen. And that is because of the Okavango Delta, with all of the flooding that brings all of this water, which creates a really beautiful landscape. So I might say Botswana is definitely up there.
Excellent. All right. Which of our second graders in Nebraska thinks they might want to go to Botswana someday? Anybody? Anybody think? Yeah, same. 2 hands up. Excellent. Well, we're going to come back to you, friends in Nebraska, if you can hang tight for a bit. Thank you for the wonderful questions. I'm going to go to Midland. Hello, Midland. Let's answer any of your sort of final questions today that you have.
Hi, Izzy.
Hi.
Animals you saw, from the elephants of the Delta to the birds in the trees, which one had the most interesting personality when you watched them up close?
Oh, I love this question. The most interesting personality when you watch them up close. I think the elephants. The elephants, in my opinion, have the most interesting personality. Kind of like I said, when you're driving by an elephant, or when you're on a boat and you're going by an elephant, and you're watching them, that they're very calm and happy and at peace and comfortable when you see them eating and wagging their tail and having their ears kind of back. And then once the elephant notices you, they put their ears up like this to make themselves look really big, and tell you, I'm here, don't come closer. And their ears go big to signal that to you. And we read that signal, and we keep our distance, and we respect the elephant. And once the elephant sees that we're keeping our distance, and we're not approaching it, we're not a threat, we're just observing it, it continues going about what it's already been doing, and eating. And they're just so fascinating and beautiful. Another thing that they do when they eat is, you can kind of tell a little bit from this video that they're eating the grass that's all around, and they pull up the grass and they pull it up from the roots. And so when they pull it out of the water to eat it, before they actually put it in their mouth, they shake it around to take all of the dirt off of the root area, because the dirt isn't very good for their stomach. And so, the elephant takes the grass, they shake it around a lot. So all of you can see, like, the elephants are kind of shaking their trunks around, because they're shaking the dirt off of the grass and the plants before they eat it, to help their tummies. So I love the elephants. That was such a good question.
Hi. What is the difference between the Kalahari Desert and the Okavango Delta?
Such a good question. So before this, I was in the Kalahari Desert and the salt pans, which we had talked about. And the salt pans at this time of year are very, very dry. So it looks like kind of a dry, grassy, desert-like landscape. And so the animals that live in this more desert-like salt pans landscape are very different from the animals that you find in the Okavango Delta. And these are animals and plants that don't really require that much water to live. And so that's things like the meerkats, which was the animal that I had on my head that I showed you guys the picture of, versus the Okavango Delta. You know, you get so many different types of wildlife and plant species and animal species that thrive in this environment because the ecosystem is filled with water and just lots of happy and healthy habitat for all of the animals and vegetation to live. So they're quite different in that way.
More wonderful questions from Midland School. Thank you so much. Midland School, we have some of our other classrooms have had to drop, so we might have a chance to answer a couple more of your questions. I just want to say for Miss Montgomery's class, if you have more questions, just turn on your camera and give me a wave and I'll bring you up on camera. But until then, I see we have another question asker from Midland, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
What was one thing that you learned in Botswana?
Something I learned? That's a great question. Something that I'm thinking about. I mean, I've learned so many different things, but one thing that we've gotten to talk a lot about since I've been here is all of the different types of plants. And I told you guys, you know, we met with the Bushman tribe, that's the nomadic tribe that lives on this land. And something that they talked to us about, and also our guides talked to us about, is how all of the different plant life here, you know, every different species of plant does something different and has a different function and has a different purpose. And so something cool that we've learned is the plant life is used for all different types of things. So certain plants are used for medicine. Yesterday, we saw a certain type of plant, the papyrus, that they use as a bandage for when you're wounded to stop the blood. There are certain types of plants that are used for weaving and like making baskets. And there's also certain types of trees that are used to make the canoes, the makoros that people use. And so I'm always really fascinated to learn about all of the different ways that the people who are living here are using the natural resources and the plants in this habitat to live. The plants used as medicine is very fascinating. That was a great question.
Another wonderful question from Midland. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring us over to our Miss Montgomery's class. You're going to finish us off today, Miss Montgomery's class. What questions do you have for Izzy about her time in Botswana?
What type of animal did you saw?
What type of animals have I seen? I've seen a lot of different types of animals.
Like, because this is the first one.
Sorry?
Okay.
She can't hear you. What type of animal did you saw? Did you see?
What type of well, right now I'm seeing impalas, and I'm seeing lots of warthogs out there. Earlier this morning we had an elephant that was right out here playing in the water. I've seen tons of water buffalo as well. The water buffalo are not as friendly as some of the other animals. And we've gotten to see lions, we've gotten to see leopards, zebras, giraffes, lots of different types of animals. Thank you for asking.
Have you ever pet an elephant?
Am I afraid of elephants?
No,
Was that the question?
If you pet an elephant.
I think he's asking Izzy if you've ever pet an elephant or if you ever touched any of the animals.
No, that's a really good question. I have not pet any of the elephants. or any of the animals. We really try to keep a safe distance between us as humans and the animals out of protection for the animals, because we don't want to frighten them. We don't want the animals to feel threatened by us, like, for the animals to think that we might hurt them. And also out of protection for us, because these animals are wild and they're not used to humans, and they live out here in the wilderness. And we never know what the animal is going to do when they see a person. And so I have not and will not be petting or touching animals. Really try to keep our safe distance to protect the animals. That was a good question.
Are you going to eat the fish that you caught?
That's such a good question too. I actually asked this earlier to the guide that went out fishing. And in order to fish in Botswana, you need a permit. So he had to get permits to fish, and then they also have a catch and release policy. So any of the fish that we caught today, we had to release them back into the river. And so the fish that I caught today, we will not be eating. But that was a great question.
Anybody else here? Any questions? Okay. All right.
Is that it for questions from Miss Montgomery class? I guess it is. Thank you so much for joining us today, Miss Montgomery's class from Birmingham. So nice to see so many kids asking so many questions today. What a fun video call live stream with you, Izzy, this has been. Before we go, and we should sign off close soon because I know we got students who need to go on with their day. You talked a long time ago about the big five, like some of these bigger animals that you've already shown us that you saw. How about the little five? Have you seen anything little in the last 48 hours? Something tiny that surprised you or you want to tell us about?
That is such a fun question. I actually saw yesterday, we saw the leopard tortoise, which is like a small little it looks like a little turtle about this big, and it's covered in spots all over to look like a leopard. So that was very exciting. And the leopard tortoise is part of the little five. I have not gotten to see the rhinoceros beetle or the antlion or the buffalo weaver or an elephant shrew, which are the other little five. But we've seen lots of small little critters and insects. I've seen lots of mongoose, lots of meerkats. We've seen all kinds of and of course the cubs. The cubs are little, and the piglets, which are the baby warthogs. So we've seen a lot of little animals for sure.
Just amazing. Just amazing. I am going to have to sadly say goodbye for now. I know that you need to rest so you can go on your evening game drive. We wouldn't want to keep you from that. Thank you so much for joining us, Izzy, today from the Okavango Delta. It has been so much fun to connect with you while you have been in Botswana. Thank you so much for showing us all the things you're doing and seeing. Thank you to all the students who've joined us over the course of this week and the previous weeks as we prepared for this expedition. This has been so much fun. Izzy is going to be coming back to the United States next week. So this will be our last chance to connect with her live in Botswana, but what an adventure it has been. Izzy, thank you so much. And to our classrooms and teachers who are watching, I know from around the country, wherever you are, you're sending a big thank you and goodbye. Actually, our friends at Midland are still here. So maybe I'll give you a chance to just wave yourself and say goodbye and thanks to Izzy. Wasn't this fun?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Miss Montgomery's class wants to say hi to you and goodbye. Great to see you all. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Izzy, have a great rest of your day. And thank you all so much for joining this expedition with us. Stay curious, keep exploring, and we hope to go on another Reach the World adventure with you sometime soon. Take care, Izzy. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.